There's a term that I heard used a while back for blokes that spent a lot of the time, while their whole lives, working with boats and in the boat building industry, called lifers, was it? And yeah, a bit like prisoners. And this is part of a story of a lifer. When I grew up in Morningside and didn't have much of a sort of boating or sailing background or anything like that. You know, the old man had a tinny and that sort of thing. And I had a little scow, and we used to take it up to Maroochydore on holidays, and I'd sort of sail around the Maroochydore River. That was about most of the boating I did. And Picnic Point and Cotton Tree. And anyway, I managed to get an apprenticeship at Wright's. Like, I was in grade 10, 15 years old, got a phone call on a Thursday from Wright's, come for an interview, and then on Monday morning I'm in the boatyard, you know, as just a little kid.
What did the apprenticeships cost?
Oh, you know, we got by. But see, that was in 1979, and I thought that was really cool because our start-off wage was $48 a week, which is pretty good. Did you pull that much money?
$19.50.
Oh, well, obviously you weren't good enough.
Try £6.
Our tool allowance was $26 a week, and an S-wing hammer was worth, I think, $45. So that, if you saved up, you'd maybe get a hammer in a year. You know? The chisels took a bit longer to get. When I first went into the yard, the thing that sort of overwhelmed me the most was the smell of the oakum. As I walked in, you could smell it's always stuck in my head, you know. And I was
Explain.
Oh, oakum? It's the sort of ropey shit that you cork into the hulls, mate. Does everyone know what oakum is? Tar dude.
It's that corky shit you
Yeah.
stuck in the holes.
Yeah, you put in the seams. Yeah, that's another story. Look, if we keep pulling things up like that, we'll talk forever tonight.
Okay, we'll shut up.
I was pretty good at woodwork at school and stuff, but when I walked into that yard and seen all those curved boats and hulls and planks and guys like him doing stuff that I thought, gee, I'm not gonna be that good at it, you know. I've got a fair bit to learn here, you know. But that was okay. They told me to go down the slipway. They gave me this thing called a gurney, and there was a big boat there. It wasn't that big. It was about 60 foot, I suppose. And just get the gurney and start hosing that off, you know. And I thought, this is pretty easy. Yeah, it was modern in those days. So yeah, we cleaned that off. Well, I'd cleaned that off as one of my first jobs, and then they give you a tin of paint and a 4-inch brush, you know, and you'd start brushing away. You know, there's no gloves, there's no mask, safety gear, nothing, no clean-up stuff. And I remember by the time I got about a quarter way down one side, I had paint dripping down here. I was just covered in it. I thought, fuck, how awesome's this? You know? This is unreal. And that went on for only a few months, you know, doing that. Another thing, there was lots of cleaning, lots of, sweeping and shoveling of shit and stuff. I got told to clean up behind the bandsaw one time, you know, and there was just a massive pile of wood there, you know, and they gave you the shovel and the wheelbarrow, and I start shoveling that in. I thought, these guys, they just don't clean up around here, you know. They haven't cleaned up here for months. But then after a few times of doing that, that was just 1 week of timber. Well, they just filled the whole back of the bed, so that was just it, you know. Another sort of good labour job we used to do was when the trucks would arrive with the timber, you know. There was nothing over 6 metres on the truck or nothing over 8 metres on the truck. The keels were at least 60 feet long. We'll go on the low side, we'll say 60 feet long of a keel that would show up on a truck. The stringers would be, up to 30, 40 foot long. Trucks would pull up on the footpath and the stuff was just pushed off. There was no forklifts, no chain blocks, nothing like that. It was just pushed out onto the footpath, and you'd wander out there and you'd look at these things. I was a kid. I was like 15, you know. And you'd get on the end of one of these massive stringers, you know, and bloke on the other, and you lift this and And you did. You know, I don't know how you did it, but you did it. And that went on for like, you know, it took a fair while to unload a truck, eh? The keels themselves at Norman Wright's, or on the other side of the shed, of course, they'd show up, dumped on the footpath, and they'd sort of be skidded across the road, across Key Street, and sometimes be pushed into the front yards on the other side of the road. They'd hook winches up to them and then winch them down into the slipway here where the men had come along and start doing their business, you know. It was pretty awe-inspiring. Another thing, lots of painting, as an apprentice. And the thing is, most of the paint was pink. It was all just pink primer. Like I thought with these beautiful boats that people build, you know, let's do at least white primer or something like that, but it was to do with the red lead. I know, yeah, it had heaps of lead in it, but it was just pink. But Wright's had a light coloured pink, which was quite nice. I think Millcraft had it was more of a darker reddy colour. It was grey, was it? Yeah. Yeah, but we're like, I sort of got used to the pink at Wright's, you know, after a while. But yeah, there was lots of that going on. There was also slipping, a lot of slippings. That was an apprentice job too, you know. When the boats would come in here, they've got to be pulled up in the slip, similar to what goes on down here, you know. But of course the boats are a lot bigger. Billy Wright used to look after the slippings. He was very, very anxious, I suppose, Bill, at that time. Well, I would have been probably 16 by then, 16, 17. Bill was about 7 years older than me, I suppose. So, yeah, but the boat would come in, he'd throw you a rope. If you missed that rope, that was the end of it. It was just, you know, so look, I just dropped the rope, mate, you know, like, it's not that hard. But in the slipping process, it was handy if you knew how to row a boat, which I knew how to row a boat, so that gave me a few points, which was handy, you know. If you could tie some knots, always good too, you know. So you don't sort of think of those things as part of boat building, but yeah, they are a big part. Tying knots and that sort of stuff. Sorry about this, I've got to hold this all the time.
Very good.
You ready for the change photos? Start this one?
Oh, if you want to.
No, you tell me when.
Yeah, go.
But Ian, can you tell us about the little green shed at the left there?
Well, maybe the next photo might show that.
What's that? What's the boat in there?
Actually, go back to the first one. I'll explain what's there.
That's a Sharpie. What's that Sharpie doing in Wright's shed?
That's actually one of the council ferries. Yeah, it's not a. That picture was taken in the mid-80s, and there's two of them. And right up in the shed here, there's another transom up in there. That's Magellan being built. But along here, this is the jetty going down to, of course, Wright's jetty here. These little green sheds on here, there was a bit of a rope locker on one end, but up this end, they were the dump houses, I suppose, eh?
Hang on, which Magellan? As in
the Magellan,
that
yeah.
he's got now at the end.
Yeah, that's where the toilets were anyway. You just went down the jetty and, you know, got into the jetty and if high tide, it was okay. No one knew, but at low tide, it was, that one's, that's in the mid-80s. But yeah, if it was low tide, people, I suppose, knew what you were eating and how your insides were and that sort of thing. Luckily, I wasn't there then. Yeah, go for another one, John. This sort of shows, like, they were just sticks when they went together, you know. That's another thing that sort of amazed me, the amount of timber that it took, not only to build the boat, but all the bracing involved. Is that right? And most of this bracing here...
Excuse me.
Yeah, mate, you're right. Yeah, most of the bracing that was used to hold the boat up went back into the burning of the... when we ran the steam pot. A lot of that sort of went into that, you know. Everything was just on dirt floors, very similar to this here. The boats were built on declivities. Now, if you don't know what a declivity is, it's because everything is running downhill, you couldn't build the boat level. Otherwise, the back of your boat would be up, you know, that far off the ground. So we built the boat, the keel sort of followed along the line of the floor, and yeah, on your level, you had this little wedge-shaped stick that you put on the job. You put your level on top of that. It might have been that high at one end and maybe that high at the other end. and that compensated for the angle of the boat being built. And you had to use that through the whole thing. So when you're building everything that way, your declivity wedge sort of sat like that, but then when you got up into the superstructure and stuff, you had to put it up that way. If you put your declivity stick around the wrong way, someone would pull you up anyway. Someone would say something.
I got one of them. If you have a look in Jewel,
Yeah.
his declivity stick
It's still there.
stuck in there as a reminder.
Mate, you've got to have a declivity stick.
If anybody wonders what it is, now you know.
But there was like, when I started there, there was 2 trawlers on the go. There was a fit out in there. The trawlers were in about the 50-foot mark. All the guys got around in their blue signets and their stubbies, you know. No one looked very flash, you know, but everyone sort of knew what to do, you know. Like, for me to watch this stuff going on, you just look at these guys and, God, they're so bloody smart, you know. They don't look that smart, but yeah. When I look back at it, yeah, they all very bloody.
Sorry, Pessy, off the top of your head, do you remember the name of those 2 trawlers?
Oh, the trawlers. There was the Lewis Fencher, and the other one was made for the Goldstone family. It'll come. I'll make a note. I might remember by the end.
On the foot side there, what was that?
Oh, they're just ferries. They're just council ferries, 60-footers, 50-footers. That's the Doomba and the Otter, and that's Magellan. Go again, John. See what else we've got going. Yeah, again, it's all the bracing that goes on. Now, another sort of job too, which was pretty cool, was running the steam pot. Now, can you shoot back to the front there, John, do you reckon? Now, the steam pot is this thing here. And what we used to do, we'd build up these massive fires underneath them, and we'd stick the ribs and stuff in there. Anything we needed to bend. You poke into the steam pot, you build these giant fires, and you boil them for a while, you know, depending on what you got in there, maybe 45, maybe an hour and a half, you know, depending on how you want it, you know. If you want it sort of overcooked, undercooked, I don't know. And you just boil it, and then you have to run it up to the boat and bend whatever you're bending, you know. But it was the only time, everyone I found at the shed was very helpful, very pleasant, nice, but when you were running timber to a boat, they used to yell at you a lot. Like, you gotta run faster, run faster. And the thing is too, when we were steaming, you also had to watch the tide. Because the tide actually used to come up, it'd probably come up to around here somewhere, you know. But you'd work around that. But all this sort of bracing too, that's what went into the steam pot. They ran our steam pot and stuff. But in the mornings, like we had a great big fire, you come in the morning, the tides come up, all the charcoal and all the rubbish that we burnt, it was all gone. I don't know where it went.
To God.
Yeah, it's just all gone, and then we just started it all again, you know. But yeah, no, run the steam pot was good. There was no gloves. No one had gloves. There might have been a pair of gloves somewhere in the shed, but yeah, apprentices don't get gloves. You get a maybe a Hessian bag, eh? Only the lucky ones got a Hessian bag.
Well, lifted shoebox and millet roll.
Yeah. But yeah, it was hard. It was hard work, but again, very, a lot of fun.
Summer,
Yeah.
you're stoking a huge fire.
Bloody Radley was over there this morning with the damn steam pot.
Going,
And
yeah.
Anyone going here
the
today?
little tiny one.
Well, see, the funny thing was at Wright's too. You know, if you had your boat up, they'd have boats, 60 foot. Let's say they had a boat like Bally High up on this slip here, and they're building a like a 60-footer carvel where we need to do a lot of steam bending. They're going to build a big fire right next to your boat, and it just used to happen that way. And I'll be in there stoking the fire, and you're looking at this beautiful boat, and Bill told me to stoke the fire, so that's what I'm doing. Planking, yeah. Then after we get all the ribs around the boats and that sort of thing, yeah, go through a few more, John, if you like. Now, this fella here, just talking about lifers and guys that have worked in the industry for a long time, and that's all they've done. Yeah, that's Russell Moore.
Look at the mark. That's a giveaway.
Yeah.
Has he seen this photo?
Oh, he was in it. But
I have to ring him.
Give him a
Send
ring.
it off to
Yeah.
Patty. See if she remembers him like that.
But this little boat here, this is one of the little dories that used to go on the lighthouse ships on the Cape Morton. There's Cape Morton, Cape Leeward, and the Cape Don, yeah. And these little buggers used to, hang off the davits, and they do all their running around. They load them off, run into the lighthouse, running into rocks and headlands, and the poor things just used to get smashed up so much. So a repair like that when it came up wasn't really that big a deal, Another great thing, planking. When it got time to plank the boats was always a bit of fun. Again, being only apprentice, I was like told what to do and stuff. But I remember one particular boat. Bill Hill was the foreman. I don't know if anyone knew the name Bill Hill. Dead now, of course. But one of the tradesmen on one side, and we've got a tradesman on the other side, and there'd be apprentice on either side, so there's a team of two either side, of course, and there's always someone making the planks. So we start off, you're with, for example, Jono, you're with this guy over here. I don't really want to work with him. Okay. All right, do you want to work on the other side over there? You work over there. Well, who are you going to get? Well, I'm not going to work with him. We're going to find someone else. So anyway, he sorted all that out.
Must be a mongrel.
Yeah, we sorted all that out. Okay, whether our planking team organised. Cool. Who's making the planks? So-and-so's making the planks. Oh, I'm not putting planks off, he's making the planks. Okay. All right. You're not going to plank the boat. We're going to get someone else to plank, and then, because he's going to make the planks anyway. Okay, get all that sorted out. Okay, ready to plank. Perfect. Who's making the shutter? Okay, the shutter was you do a few planks from the bottom first. Then you might do a few from the top sides, and you'd sort of plank the boat up round, and there'd be a shutter plank right in sort of around the turn of the bilge. That was like the last one that went in, and it had to be made, and it just had to perfectly fit, because you can't cramp it into place or anything like that. So it was very important the person that made the shutter had to be, the right one. But anyway, it was always a bit of a jiggle to get the right sort of planking team together, which I thought it was great. It was always a bit of a race, like it wasn't sort of a race, but there was always a race, wasn't there? Yeah. It was always a bit of a race, but each side never really got behind, Each day there'd be, at the end of the day, you might have the same amount of planks on, but maybe this one's not nailed off, but they never got too far behind. So again, it was quite funny. And if you were a bit behind, there was never any overtime down there. So it wasn't if you could come in early in the morning and try to catch up to the next crew. You just had to, catch up through the day. And by the time we got to the shutter plank, everything was even, It was pretty good. I did do some overtime. Well, I didn't really want to do overtime, but there was a young bloke at the boatyard said, I've got some work down in Wynnum Creek, and they had these old net dinghies in there where they used to tow behind the fishing boats, and we'd go down there and sort of glue some foam inside these old dinghies and then glass them up, and they'd use them to put ice and shit in and put their catch and stuff in. And we went down one Saturday and glassed up these boats. And it was only like 4 or 5 hours, a bit of fun. And the owners, the Greenhills that used to own the trawlers down there, he said, oh, that's great, boys, we'll take it to the hotel. Like, I'm 17, but I had pork chops, so I went to the hotel. And it was it wasn't that late in the day, it was about 11, I suppose, and I had my 6 pots that they bought for me. And I bought a ticket for a meat tray. And I won it, of course. So I don't want to be at the hotel, but I won that meat tray. So what am I going to do with this, And anyway, I probably had one more beer. Look, we've got to go home soon. Oh, just won another meat tray. So it's no good. So the fella's come home. He's dropped me at home at mother's place, and I've sort of walked in and thought, oh, fuck, 6 pots under the gut. But I had 2 meat trays. Yeah, and she goes, oh, where have you been? I went, oh, look, I bought some tickets off a guy, and I just won 2 meat trays. So it was good.
Mum was happy.
Yeah, Mum was happy. That was okay. We used to skate like after work too. You sort of knew you were one of the boys too, and we'd go up to the Balmoral Hotel, and we'd have a few beers after work, and that was good fun too. Everyone used to do it. You probably did it once, didn't you? Did you go to the hotel? Maybe once.
Military.
Chip raffles with the painters and doctors.
Well, yeah, those painters and docker guys, I remember I was telling the old lady when I got home one day, after not going to the pub, of course, that they park up in Wamble Street and they sell, like, you can buy a toaster and you can get, like, you can buy, like, a stereo and stuff for the house and jugs and it's really cheap. And, Ian, I think those wharfies are stealing it off the wharf. No, they're really nice guys. But it was, yeah. It was just like a big car boot sale, the best car boot sale I'd ever been to. What have we got? Yeah, another thing with these big slipways too. Some of the boats you'd get on, like huge boats like South Pacific and Bally High, they were so old and you know, the tracks weren't that great. You'd just start pulling them up, they'd come off the rails. Once the boat's off the rails, you can't put them back in because the boat doesn't go back in. So they used to get pulled up the slipway, off the rails, of course. So they're virtually being scull dragged up. So the boat might be up for a week's work of, you know, maybe the anti-foul and a bit of painting on the top side. So there might be 3 or 4 guys working on the boat itself, but there'd be another 10 guys jacking the boat up, pulling the slipway back across. And like, I don't know how they sort of factored that into their prices, you know, but it was quite an amazing thing. No one ever got hurt for some reason. Like, it was pretty dangerous work. Lots of pretty wild scaffolding and stuff. In the shed itself, it was like all open, very similar to this. I don't know how Simon goes, but nothing would ever get pinched. The tools would be left out, and yeah. Well, maybe no one from the public pinched anything anyway.
What would they do with it?
Inside jobs.
We all had quite good projects going on, but yeah. Anyway, it was okay. College time. Yeah, college was, there was 3 blocks of 7 weeks that we had to do. Now, you were at South Brisbane, eh?
Catamaran.
It's a Warram.
That one there, that's, actually, they're the keels for that, those 2 City Council ferries. They were built both at the same time. They were 2 50-footers, that's the Doomba and the Otter. So we knocked up those 2 keels together. We had 12 weeks to build the boats. 12 weeks, yeah. There was a team of 8 guys on each boat. They're only plywood. Yeah, well, they're built like that, then we pull them up, set them up, that sort of thing. Yeah, built them in 12 weeks. We got to the very end. They were running just a little bit behind in time, so we got everyone in the shed for 1 week on both boats, finished them. And yeah, they got done. There was a big rush for them, but then once they were all done put in the water, they sat there for about 4 weeks, which is pretty common for the council. Yeah. But yeah, anyway, college, it was 3 7-week blocks over at Ithaca. What we did in first year, I suppose, you know, we learned how to draw, we learned how to loft. We built a dinghy in first year, and lots of other little sort of technical boat building things that you got to learn about. Most of the people I went to school with, I went to school at Iona. Most of my class ended up boat builders, so it was a good chance to catch up with my school buddies again, you know. Actually talking about the loft floor, learning how to loft. In the top of the shed, I don't remember that photo there was a sort of like right at the top of the shed, there's like a loft right up top there, and that's where all the boats got drawn. Well, the boats got lofted. Now, for those of you who don't know how what lofting is, the boats used to get drawn in Billy's office, or Possum used to draw them, and then they'd pull a table of offsets off them, which is just a jumbled page of figures. That's up in here. And then we'd go upstairs, and if your boat was 30 foot long,
Stairs in.
the stairs, oh, that's coming. If the boat was 30 foot long, you had to draw out a plan 30 foot long, so you could make all your patterns and stuff. If your boat was 60 foot long, you drew out a plan that was 60 foot long. If your boat was 108 feet long, which Elizabeth E was, yeah, you had to actually,
Stretch the floor.
well, how it worked, you drew a huge grid. Let's say something easy like a 60-footer. You drew a big grid, you draw a profile of your boat, which is looking at it from the side. On the floor, because you're a bit pinched for space, then you draw the plan of the boat, which is looking down at it, you know, so it gives you that shape. Well, you draw that down on top of it, you know, and then you've got to draw your body sections out, which give you the shape and the patterns of the boat sort of cut in half. Well, that sits on top of everything else. So when you walk up there, like when I was a young bloke and got sent up there, you know, you just look at all these lines and go, oh yeah, it's all right, eh? Like, again, I've got a lot to learn. And like if I could ever find a loft floor now, it'd be so interesting, wouldn't it? You know, looking at the lines. But with, for example, when Elizabeth E was built there, she was 108 feet. The loft floor wasn't long enough, so we actually had to overlap the lofting. So you had front half of the boat there, back half of the boat sitting on there. So yeah, it wasn't very confusing at all. And when you were downstairs and making some patterns, and one of the tradesmen would tell you, look, I want you to go up to station 3. I need a measurement from the waterline 1 up to the deck line. And they had a set of stairs that sort of run up inside the shed that were like very, very steep. And they sort of went up and then up in that way, up into the loft, and the treads were worn out from like, they're like a bum was sitting in them, wasn't it? You know, just from the traffic going up there, you know. And as you were going up the loft to do these measurements, you think, I'm not going to get this right. I'm going to get in trouble, eh? I might as well just stay down below and just cop it. You know? But yeah, it was a great place, and but yeah, the loft was very, very confusing. But once you got the hang of it, yeah, it was quite good. When?
Excuse me.
Yeah,
I
mate.
suppose all that sort of stuff's done on the computer now.
Well,
You don't have that anymore, or does that still happen?
I still draw things. But like I remember when all the lofting was going on, when all the computers were sort of coming into the scene, and you'd sort of think, yeah, computers never going to be able to do lofting, you know, like, God, we're going to be safe. But yeah, they do it heaps better than we do. Like, they don't go to the pub at lunch for a starter. But yeah, no one good. Where are we? Okay, let's look at some more photos. What else have we got coming up here, John?
There's a new one. What's that?
Oh, that's one of the council ferries too.
Go again?
Yeah, go again. Now, that's one of the lighthouse ships. Yeah, and then up the back there, yeah, okay. That's the Gill. She was a boat built for Tony Myers, yeah. She was about 42 foot or something like that, you know? Yeah.
The first shop they built for years and years and years.
Well, they built Capricornia before her. Yeah, Capricornia was the one before her. Then there was Gill. I'm just trying to see if we can see those stairs going up into the loft. The loft floor was right up in there, and these stairs sort of meandered up into, yeah, very scary place up there, for sure.
The boat's still alive, you know? Yeah.
These Gill,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Capricornia is.
Recently, Gill's been on the market and it just sold.
It did, yeah. Well, I know Capricornia is still. It's down in Sydney. Goldie was looking at it. Looking at buying it. We'll go again, John, and see what we've got. There we go. There's Elizabeth E. She was built in, would have been 81.
Tracy and I did the stems,
Yeah.
those stems in 1981. Yeah.
81, yeah. Just have a look at the background.
It's flat.
Yeah.
What's the ship over the back?
I don't know which ship is there, but that was a very busy wharf, the A&L wharf. You know, you'd have the Unro Asia and all sorts of quite large ships going into the river. That was another great thing about working here. It was just the traffic going up and down the river, like big ships, big sailing boats, all sorts of stuff. Yeah, this would be 81. 82.
I left, yeah.
Yeah, B82. Actually, in the boats in behind, they're not a very good shot, but there's the coral leader in there. Now, those little sheds that were along, in the first photo, you might have seen those little green sheds that were along the jetty. These were the toilets along here, of course. These jetties, the jetty looks really nice. What we did is we turned all the boards over before the launching, and looks all right, eh? And then put this really nice white line on there and the caps on there. Looks brand new.
Wonderful.
But yeah, she was a pretty impressive yacht. And then out the back here, these ones here, these are the Wright's launch service. They were the boats that used to tie up the ships. That one there, the one in close, Naiad, I reckon, and the one on the outside, Noel. She used to, and they had a bunch of other little boats, Noddy, Nifty, Nimble, Narita, and lots of other ones that started with N. Yeah. But I just love the backgrounds. Always good. What else we got, John? Oh yeah, there was always repairs on the slipway. Okay, there was lots of building, lots and lots of building, but there was always repairs.
Other people do that.
And yeah, that was the boat, the Miramar, had a bit of a dust up on the wharf one night. But I got the job of putting the stem back in it and putting the planks back on. But yeah, pretty messy at the start. The one besides the South Pacific, and then there's another one of the little lighthouse ships in beside there.
Is that the Miramar?
Yeah, Miramar. Yeah. Thing is, after that damage, like the top of the stem got knocked off, there was no breast hook left. I don't know where it all went. Just got smashed.
Were they all quoted work, or do you think
Do
they
and
do a charge?
Oh, well, that'd be an insurance sort of thing. I don't know how all that sort of stuff worked, you know.
Billy would tell you.
Yeah, my job was just fix this and fix it fast. And hurry up.
Yeah, shut up and fix it.
Yeah, shut up and fix it. After my apprenticeship, I did a bit of a stint to Western Australia. I loaded up had an old transit van and sort of did a bit of surfing and stuff. Went to the west, worked on a few shark fishing boats over there. Nothing real, you know. It was just more or less something to do while I was over there in between my surfing and stuff. I joined a club called the Bob Hawke Surf Team. I think they call it when you're on the doll or something. But it was really easy, you know, because you could surf around the place and where do you send my next check? Oh, I've got to go to Yellingup for the swell's picking up, you know, and they send it down there. It's like, how good is this Australia place? You know. But I did a bit of work on shark boats over there. They should maybe get the shark boats happening again because they have got a little bit of a shark problem over there at the moment. When I was over there, it was in the early 80s. It was the time when the America's Cup, they won that. And yeah, that was a pretty awesome thing to be around. It was like New Year's Eve or New Year's Day for... You were over there? Yeah. A Tuesday morning it was. Yeah, I got paid by Bob that day, which worked out really well. Unfortunately, it only lasted one day. But even before that, I was over there at Christmas before that when Australia 2 was leaving to go overseas, and I went down to Fremantle with my brother. We were just going for a drive, and I was saying, "What's that thing over there?" He goes, "Oh, it's Bondi's new boat. You know, he's going to Newport with." I'm like, "What's it? What have they covered it up for?" "Oh, I got no idea. They keep all the rubbish and so I don't know." You know, no one was interested at all about it, you know. But yeah, we know why he covered it up, don't we? There we go. There's the that's one of the lighthouse ships that those little dories used to live on. Yeah, that's. Can you read that? Anyone read that? Is that the Don or the Morton? Yeah, yeah. The dories used to just live on the davits, just on the. Actually, they're not on there at the moment. Sort of just up in that area there. The where the lighthouse ships used to live was up Munro's Wharf, which is sort of up, sort of across from Galloway's Hill. And one particular day, we were working at the boatyard, and one of these boats were leaving to go down the river, and of course this is just past where the incident happened, I suppose you could say. Where those particular boats will be referred to as double hulls too. Those boats where the incident happened. But anyway, she came down the river and she was going to do the turn at Hamilton, but didn't do the turn, and would have run. Oh, okay, we're right here, aren't we? Yeah. Yeah, it just went straight into the bank, and ran up the bank, and it sat there for it wasn't long, couple of hours or something. They probably just fixed the steering and stuff up, and
They lose steering.
Oh, I didn't. Yeah, well, yeah, it didn't have any steering because it didn't do the turn very well. And yeah, he came back and off he went. Over.
Could do that today.
Oh, imagine the pandemonium.
Okay. Yeah, whack another photo up. Now, sometimes you buy stuff out of Trader Boat, which is probably a bit too big. This thing was, it was a 58-foot Herreshoff this guy was building, but it had a heap of timber with it. It had like 10,000 super feet of spotted gum. Anyway, must have this. I got it together with a few mates. We bought this thing, disassembled it, brought it down to Brisbane, and what I did with the wood, turn it over, mate. What I did with the wood was make a, you can go to the next one. Yeah, what I did with the wood was make another little boat. Now that's standard boat building uniform in the era.
Well, the safety gear.
Yeah, that's what everyone looked like. You look like that, except you had like a blonde. You were much more toned.
What were you wearing on your feet?
Thongs?
No, you had to wear shoes. No, they're all shoes.
Dunlop ollies?
Yeah. No, that's how we all looked anyway. We'll go again. Yeah, thanks, John. Yeah, so what I did when I bought that big 58-foot, we pulled it all apart. I got all the timber apart. I started to make up a little Sharpie, you know. I got Billy to draw me up a plan for it. He spent a fair bit of time. You know, Billy, I need this boat. It has to be this long. But okay, come about half an hour later for you. He's drawn up this thing. Cool. Okay, we'll go again, John. Yeah, and I threw this thing together rather quickly, you know. And it was a great little boat. Yeah, we'll go again, mate. I think I've gone over time.
No, the night is yours.
58-footer into a 30-footer.
Yeah, I did, I did. Yeah, she was all spotted gum. Again, a Sharpie, not a big thing that Wrights used to do, you know, but it was a Sharpie. Spotted gum inside, of course. I did put a couple of beach planks in the top side because I had a fair bit of shape I had to pull around, so I just used wide beach planks. I had a lot of beach planks too. Anyway, plank by plank, and then what happened then, John? That was it from the back. She again was built in Wright's shed over to the side where the Wright's launch service was. They were nice enough to I won't say hire any space. I mean, we never paid for anything, but we built it there. Now that was her when I was sort of pulling it out of the shed a bit, and Billy was saying to me one day, I ran into him at the shops. He goes, "Oh, how's that boat going of yours?" You know, and I was buying some paint brushes and stuff. He goes, "Oh, that's good. I'd like if you got some painting done because we're going to go to the next one, John. We're going to pull the shed down in 2 weeks' time." So yeah, that was a good incentive to get things done.
There's a better look at the loft.
Yeah, well, that's how the loft worked, but it was
Up there with that much light.
yeah. But you used to go up there for lunch and stuff, and you could sit there and you'd hang your feet over the side there, eh? And it was just such a great place. But yeah, watching all this happen was quite very, very sad. We'll go again, mate. Now this is looking from the front end of the shed. Again, that's the other end of the loft. And they used to have these skids down there.
Late 80s now, is it?
This would have been 1989. This happened. Well, I didn't say. Well, it happened. It happened. It had to happen. But yeah, these in the street side of the loft had these big skids here, and when we were up there doing all the lofting and stuff and making all the frames for the boats, they used to be skidded out through here. So we'd make a frame, like for Elizabeth E's frames, where it would have been 22 foot wide, probably, I suppose. Somehow I used to get them through this door, skid them down there onto the footpath, and then we'd carry them into the shed. Somehow, I don't know how you do it, but that's how it happened. This area of the shed here, they used to be the cabinet maker's loft, where all the furniture got built and stuff like that, you know. Go, John, we'll go one more. So out of the shed, after they had their little problem with the demolition and stuff, got the boat out. Now, if we look in the background again, that's the way I reckon the skyline should look in Brisbane. But now, this little boat here, this is Nifty. That's when she was just sold from the launch service, and I think the fisherman Steroid, he owned it at that stage. It was still a blue boat. Now, this shed over here, that was like the Wright shed's just here, and inside there they used to build skiffs and that sort of thing, eh? Was it skiffs in there?
Norm built the Jenny.
The Jenny was built in that shed. Yeah.
5?
Yeah, it had. There was 3 bays. It had like rails going through it and into the water, and yeah, the skiff sails used to do that. We'll go again, mate. That's where this little boat I built, Fran and I, and Fran and Ina, they're over there, my lot. We lived on that boat for 6 years in that spot, which is pretty cool. And we used to use the shed up here. There was a shed there, had a bit of a shower in there, and you know that was okay.
That's a PT boat.
Oh, it's a crash boat, yeah, not a real flash one.
What happened
But
to it? What happened to it?
the boat, which one? The crash boat. Oh, I hope it crashed. Eh? It was
I
a
know
bit
what
of-
happened to your boat.
Yeah.
What happened to your boat?
Oh, I'll tell you in a minute. Keep going. And again, when we lived on the boat, we collected a few other things as we went along. As Simon would understand that, wouldn't he? I wasn't as bad as you. But yeah, there was another boat we picked up other days, and yeah, we used to just work on that while we were doing other stuff on our boats. But again, just look at the back there, the skyline there. That was Captain Cook going behind us. Go again, John. What else we got? It's nifty with a fresh coat of paint in a white in colour. That's a little slipway we used to have next to the shed. Go again, mate. Now, okay, this is Fran over there. Ina, put your hand up. That's Ina in there.
That's eeny weeny.
Now she was there. Yeah, she came straight from hospital.
That's where she lived?
Lived on the boat for 2.5,
With a rope attached.
2 years, 2.5 years. Be about 2.5, eh? No, she was really good.
She could swim.
Well, it's funny, like, yeah, she didn't, took a long time to walk because we carried her everywhere. And
she always had something to hang on to.
yeah, and but you could put her on the pontoon. We were tied up next to a pontoon. You could go down, you'd stick her on the pontoon, and you go stay there, and you could go and do your stuff, and you come back, she's there. You know, because if you, but yeah, she was great. We'll go again. Yeah, go again. There was an old boat in the river. Seawind. That's it, isn't it?
No boat through the old seaweed.
But yeah, this was like some of the traffic you'd see in those days when it was just before the double hulls took over the river. That's looking, I think I might have been, yeah, this is just after the wharves are starting to be pulled down at New Farm at Tenerife there.
Still late 80s.
Yeah, but again, yeah, you look in the background, there's just nothing there, you know. What have we got next, mate? Yeah, that was like again. There was a bit of a yard up there, slipway, that sort of thing, where we had heaps of fun. We used to have lots of parties up there, and that was her sort of play area, running around the slipway and stuff like that. We had big fires, and I remember I used to. The slipway was owned by the launch service people, or Howard Smiths. Yeah, they. Like, we lived there for 6 years without actually paying any rent, you know. We used to just be there helping them out. Well, they never asked and we never offered, so it was pretty good setup. Squatters, I suppose you'd call it. Yeah, this one here, that's Noddy. If anyone knows Noddy. Anyone know Noddy? Noddy, when Bruce Anderson owned it, he just put a little bit of a bigger engine in it. He had that 230 horsepower. Yeah, it did 26 knots. Yeah, but when he did put the new engine in it, and we took it for a blast. This is on sort of where Wright shed was. Took it for a blast. It peeled the spray chines off it. You know. But yeah, and also the paint line was a bit. He mixed up a few of the paint colours and stuff. I remember Billy Wright saying your father would not be so impressed by this paintwork. But anyway, now. When we lived on our boat, I needed a baby name, and I had to look around. Ina used to live across the river at Riverside, but she's the hottest tug in the river anyway. And
She's still hot.
she's a hot tug. But when she used to moor straight across from us, and when she'd go for a towing job, she'd come back up the river, and you'd go. She used to throw off the worst wash. Like, I mean, it was like a saved army coming in. And you'd be looking and go, oh God, here comes the Ina, you know, and you'd run down and tie the ropes off and just hang on. She used to come into a big turn right in front of us before she'd go in. But again, she's a pretty cool old boat. Yeah, that was another shot of, like, we used to cruise up the river and stuff. There was an old boat called Cambria that got done up on the river. Yeah, they spent a couple of bucks on it. I'll keep going, mate. Yeah, and that was her again. You know, just off the slip. We sold it. Walfen. We ended up buying a house. So first thing that goes, the boat's got to go. So we had to sell her, and we sold the other one other days and that sort of thing. And then you had a really bad run of owners. First owner wasn't too bad. The second owner was a bit of a wanker, but then had 2 dickheads after that, which the poor thing is in. I don't know if anyone has seen this boat down at Cabbage Tree Point, you know, in terrible condition, you know, which is very sad.
You need to buy it back.
Oh no! Well, I made an offer. Well, he said I want to sell it, and he's throwing these figures at me, and I went, all I'm doing to you, you turn her over, mate. All I'd be doing to you is like just giving you money for being an idiot, you know. But it is so sad. But
Is that it?
is there any more? That's it. Yeah, looks like it's about it.
Oh, the next one, in case there's another one after it.
Yeah, it might be. No, that's it. But then after, like, we bought the house and stuff, and
If you switch it off, you lose the light.
yeah, just.
So I need
There are
to...
more photos, don't worry.
Is there one more, Ina?
Yeah, there's more.
Oh, wait, there's more.
Yeah. Anyway, well, look, we sold that. We moved into the house, and it was funny. Like Ina, as a baby, my mother always used to say, "You can't have that baby on the boat." Anyway, we buy the house. She fell down the stairs in about the first 2 weeks being in the house. Broke her arm. You know,
Never
It
happened
was,
on the boat.
it was unreal.
Not supposed
Yeah,
to.
that was her. That was her over at the Rex, you know, and it was a great old thing. And there might be maybe one more, Ina.
Sorry.
But yeah, after all that, you know, got over that thing, moved in the house, you know, things changed a bit and things got a lot more busy, and I actually had to start making some decent sort of boats. But that's another story.
Good, we'll do it again.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ian.